Competence in mathematics was another trouble spot. More than half said that their real task schools graduates are deficient in mathematics. More than 10% of respondents said colleges graduates are deficient in the subject, while 70% said they are adequate.
In 2005, donor countries agreed on an accord to harmonize their practices. Since then, aid officials have complained that too little has changed on the ground. Conferences of donors in developing countries still tend to be dominated by a small group of North European governments, with the US often absent.
The uniquely scented flavor of vanilla is second only to chocolate in popularity on the world's palate. It's also the second most expensive spice after saffron, but highly labor-intensive cultivation methods and the plant's temperamental life cycle and propagation mean production on a global scale is struggling to keep up with the increasing demand for the product. The shuttle was designed to be a space truck. It's a multi-purpose vehicle. We've done a tremendous number of different things with it. It's the most versatile space vehicle that has ever been built. We've used it to launch satellites. We've used it to repair satellites in orbit and put them back into orbit. We've used it to capture satellites and bring them back to Earth for repair. In the photo, the Wildcat's huge paws are clamped onto the side of the white safari jeep in which Chapel was a passenger. Almost as tall as the jeep on her hind legs, she appears to be forcing her muzzle into the back window.
Three professors from Hamburg University's medical faculty traveled last month to Ingeborg's sitting room in East Berlin to test her on the work she carried out in pre-war Germany. The problem begins with the alphabet itself. Building a spelling system for English using letters that come from Latin, despite the two languages not sharing exactly the same set of sounds, it is like building a playroom using an IQ office set. In the Middle Ages, the design and use of flags were considered a means of identifying social status. Flags were, therefore, the symbols not of nations, but of the nobility. The design of each flag resembled the devices on the noble's coat of arms, and the size of the flags was an indication how high the honor stood in the nobility.
Insults and criticism were not unexpected. What was surprising was people's enthusiasm for the competition. Thousands have participated in the discussion.
The brain is divided into two hemispheres, called the left and right hemispheres. Each hemisphere provides a different set of functions, behaviors, and controls. The right hemisphere is often called the creative side of the brain, while the left hemisphere is the logical or analytic side of the brain. First discovered in 2007, a fast radio burst continued to defy explanation. These cosmic chirps last a thousandth of a second. The characteristics of the radio pulses suggested that they came from galaxies billions of light years away. However, new works point to a much closer origin flaring star within our own galaxy.
The asteroid that slammed into the Moon 3.8 billion years ago, creating the Imbrium Basin, may have had a diameter of at least 150 miles, according to a new estimate. The work helps to explain the puzzling geological features on the Moon's near side and has implications for understanding the evolution of the early solar system. The latest scientific evidence on the nature and strength of the links between diet and chronic diseases is examined and discussed in detail in the following sections of this report. This section gives an overall view of the current situation and trends in chronic diseases at the global level.
Agricultural problems due to climate change of normal weather, water depletion, and the collapse of soil have become big problems in all parts of the world. Many are now focusing on ethics and family farming as a way to combat these issues. Within this course, you will be introduced briefly to the discipline, child psychology, and to theories and approaches that have been developed to help us understand and support children's lives by focusing on the individual children. Psychologists can assess changes in their child's abilities over time, including their physical, cognitive, social, and emotional development.
An innovative new product or service can give a firm a head start over its rivals, which can be difficult for a new entrant to overcome. If the new technology is also patented, then other firms cannot simply copy its design. It is legally protected. Within this free course, you will be introduced briefly to the discipline of child psychology and to theories and approaches that have been developed to help us understand and support children's lives by focusing on the individual children. Psychologists can assess changes in their child's abilities over time, including their physical, cognitive, social, and emotional development.
Statistics are indicators of change and allow meaningful comparisons to be made. While it may be the issues rather than the statistics as such that grab people's attention, it should be recognized that it is the statistics that informed the issues. Statistical literacy, then, is the ability to accurately understand, interpret, and evaluate the data that inform these issues.
To some extent, attendance at cultural venues and events is influenced by a person's age and the composition of the household in which they live. For example, those people in households with dependent children were more likely to visit zoological parks and aquariums than people living in single-person households.
The tortoise size and shell shape varies depending on where they live. The shell is made of bone and is a dull brown color. Their ribs, backbone, and breastbone have become part of the shell, which is why you can never separate the tortoise from its shell.
The whole purpose of making notes is to aid your learning. It is important to go back over them within a day of making them to make sure they make sense and make them legible for future revisions. Also, going back over them should highlight the key questions of areas in which you want to do further reading.
This is a new, accessible, and engaging textbook written by academics who also work as consultants with organizations undergoing change. It offers a unique combination of rigorous theoretical exploration together with practical insights from working with those who are actually responsible for managing change.
According to a peer-reviewed study, medical cannabis led to a statistically significant improvement in quality of life, employment status, and in the reduction of the number of medications in those with Tourette syndrome, in addition to improving comorbidities.
Most babies start developing their hearing while still in the womb, prompting some hopeful parents to play classical music to their pregnant bellies. Some research suggests that infants are listening to adult speech as early as 10 weeks before birth, gathering the basic building blocks of their family's native tongue.
Nature offers no greater splendor than the starry sky on a clear, dark night, silent, timeless, jeweled with the constellations of ancient myth and legend. The night sky has inspired wonder throughout the ages, a wonder that leads our imaginations far from the confines of Earth and the pace of the present day, out into boundless space and cosmic time itself.
Scientists suggest that there are a number of reasons that our bodies treat scent differently than other senses, from hunting and gathering through to finding healthy mates. Linking smells with memories that stir up desire, happiness, or even fear is biologically useful for humans. Humans have one other thing to consider when scent is at play. Context is key.
When you take a deep whiff of your morning coffee, the smell of those fresh roasted beans darts into parts of the brain responsible for emotional and memory processing, but our other senses don't work in the same way. That's why smell can trigger a happy memory more quickly than touching the hot coffee mug or tasting that first sip.
The most significant difference between traditional Chinese architecture and traditional Western architecture is the construction material. Most ancient Western buildings were built up with stones, solemn and magnificent. Most importantly, they survive today. Ancient Chinese people were very good at using wood and created the complex mortise and tenon joint structure to bring in the unique aesthetics for ancient Chinese wooden architecture.
Our genes serve as an operating manual for cells of the body. Genes tell cells what to do and when. But copying errors in those operating manuals, known as mutations, can lead to misspelled instructions that can change how cells operate. Scientists now know that some of those mutations can lead to disease. See
About 66 million years ago, a massive asteroid slammed into the Gulf of Mexico. Not long afterward, all non-bird dinosaurs died, as did many other species on land and in the sea. Scientists don't know the exact year this took place, but they now think they have figured out in what season occurred spring.
Particles can act like clumps of matter or ripple through space like waves, and they can even exist in two places at once. A new device harnesses this strange quantum behavior to measure Earth's gravity. Slight changes in gravity from place to place reveal changes in the density of material beneath the sensor. This allows the instrument to detect underground objects.
A joint venture is a business arrangement in which two or more parties agree to pool their resources for the purpose of accomplishing a specific task. This task can be a new project or any other business activity. In a joint venture, each of the participants is responsible for profits, losses, and costs associated with it.
Sometimes, natural processes can help preserve materials. For example, sediments from floods or volcanic eruptions can encase materials and preserve them. In one case, the chill of an alpine glacier preserved the body of a man for more than 5,000 years.
The process of researching and securing a dig site can take years. Digging is the field work of archaeology. On occasion, archaeologists might need to move earth with bulldozers and backhoes. Usually, however, archaeologists use tools such as brushes, hand shovels, and even toothbrushes to scrape away the earth around artifacts.
The COVID-19 pandemic created an enormous level of stress on a global scale, leading to elevated levels of anxiety, depression, and other mental illnesses. Along with this was a disruption and challenges in the delivery of mental health services that were traditionally provided in the office.
The requirements to be a NACIs do not have changed over the years to better align with the agency's mission and values. A potential candidate must be a citizen. They also have to have a master's degree from an accredited institution. Acceptable degrees include engineering, biological science, or mathematics.
Oxygen can be found in many of the minerals in the ground around us, and the moon is mostly made of the same rocks you'll find on Earth. Minerals such as silica and magnesium oxides dominate the moon's landscape. All of these minerals contain oxygen, but not in a form our lungs can access.
A well-crafted content marketing strategy places your business in the position of a thought leader, building brand preference as you inform and educate buyers. Providing helpful and entertaining content can form a strong bond between your brand and customers that continues to grow and strengthen over time.
Fences are not just designed to keep people and animals out, but they also keep things in, like children. From a safety perspective, knowing your children are in a yard that is fenced offers solid peace of mind when it comes to their well-being. Fences are also great for keeping pets in a confined, controlled area.
Frogs live almost everywhere, from tropical forests to frozen tundra and scorching deserts. They sport an amazing range of survival strategies. Many frogs are more colorful than the most dazzling birds, and their voices have filled the night with song since the dawn of the dinosaurs. But the course is fading. As humans change natural environments, frogs around the world are disappearing.
A car's brakes are one of its most important safety features and generally come in one of two types, disc or drum. Disc brakes use a spinning disc, which is pinched between brake pads mounted on calipers to slow the motion of the car. Drum brakes, on the other hand, use shoes that push outward to contact the inside of a spinning cylinder.
The projected decline of government spending in many low-income countries will restrict their ability to strengthen pandemic preparedness and limit their progress towards universal health coverage. This will lead to growing inequalities between countries, threatening global stability and prosperity. Thus, governments need to give greater priority to health in budgets and improve the efficiency of health spending.